Hello everyone again, Koji from Celestial Rhythms. This is my third video of the day, January the 16th of 2021, a Saturday, just a few days away from that extremely interesting last days of President Trump's first term. And yes, President Trump is still in power and he has unprecedented powers as this is a national emergency. We're really in a war scenario. The president has unprecedented powers. I keep repeating myself. We have to keep this in mind. And he is president till midday of January the 20th. That's when his first term will end. There's plenty of time still for action. Focus in on the 19th of January. That's the day when many lines seem to cross, come in focus, all coming together. It's highly interesting and suspenseful naturally. But stay calm, everything will move accordingly in the right way, and astrology will show you the total confirmation of what I'm saying. So in my first of this series, I showed you that this new moon is very special. I was talking of the two extra points, CZ 119 and TD 10, both Kuiper belt objects which were discovered in 1999, which both have a very similar energy of revolutionary radical approach. CZ 118 at 1917 in Libra, exactly T-squaring the consciousness axis, the power axis, the plumb line, midnight, midday, close to the ascendant. In that sense, the most critical factor of the whole chart, short before sunrise. And TD10 showing tenacity, stubbornness, determination here right at mid-heaven, pretty exactly by 13 minutes of arc or so, less than a quarter of a degree, exactly standing over the horizon of ascendant and descendant. Aside from that, new moon was conjunct Pluto. Pluto, the planet of transformation and change in Capricorn since 2008, coming to conjunct the American nations Pluto within the next 2 years. Actually, as we go this year in April, it already will come as close as 50 minutes of arc to the natal position of Pluto, which is 27 degrees 32 minutes in Capricorn. Pluto has been charged up over the last 12 months by several other planets, rare alignments, conjunctions, amongst Saturn, Jupiter, which are the two society-changing factors, now both in Aquarius. We're in the emergence of that new age. So Pluto is now fully activated by the sun taking on its frequency, in that sense becoming the amplifier of that Plutonic energy. So we can safely say with this new moon we were kicked off into a new dimension. It might take a little while for everyone to see it, to come into the full limelight, but it is happening, and some big stuff is going on. Also, that new moon was in hexagram 61, again in a groove where Pluto and Saturn met, where all these many planets were in for so many months and years. Pluto is still in here for the better part of 2021. Making everyone see what really matters, what is at the core of this reality. That's what this year is about. Furthermore, there was the Mercury-Jupiter conjunction here, very close to the new moon, which is optimistic, expansive in thinking. Mercury was between Jupiter and Pallas. All these three together would speak for accelerated awakening to new ideas, new concepts. Now, if we look at what else happened in the vicinity of that new moon, which actually happened at 00:0001 a.m. in Washington, D.C., very special. That is highly unusual that we have a new moon just 1 second into the new day. That one energy, that initial spark, great synchronicity. So just hours later, we had a Mars-Saturn conjunction, a square. Saturn at 3 degrees Aquarius, Mars at 3 degrees Taurus. Mars-Saturn is radical in its approach, warlike, bringing in authority, acting on behalf of Saturn, rule of law. Then again, just 12 hours later, there was a heliocentric Venus-Mars opposition. Now this is a heliocentric chart. Mars at 12 degrees Gemini, 12 degrees Sagittarius, Venus. Very important moment energetically, kind of the high point of creation. Venus and Mars holding the two sides, the male and the female energy, creating, sparking new ideas, new territory is entered on this day. It's so that moment heliocentrically had Chiron up in the center of the heavens. If we would translate it, transfer it towards Washington, that same grid, just move it. So Chiron, again, healing, but before healing can happen, you have to uncover the wound, you have to clean it, you have to go through that painful process of taking all the dirt out of the wound, and then healing will naturally happen. It is a process, it takes time. So this Venus-Mars opposition was initiating that. Also interesting, Huya here, which I spoke about quite a few times. Huya, another Kuiper belt object, which has to do with the healing of past karma, which we all have to do in a historic way, catching up with all which has gone wrong. And there is this opposition here, which is also on for multiple years. Orcus and Nessus here in a T-square, made into a full-blown grand square here by Venus and Mars, bringing this into the actual biological manifest realm. Nessus and Orcus, as I understand, is the ritual satanic abuse. Orcus is alchemy, and this is a sort of an alchemy by a very twisted and sick mind. It is that whole, it's so hard to wrap one's mind around it. What as not being infected by that dark virus, but this is true pathological behavior, and that has to be brought into the front of our consciousness by Venus and Mars and Huya transforming it. So this is a multi-year process, and it's now highlighted very strongly in this January 13th opposition of Venus and Mars. Then, just a few hours later, again on January the 14th, early morning, that's just a couple days ago now, Uranus has changed direction, which happens once a year. Uranus, I'm saying. Uranus has been going backwards for many months, probably 5 months, and now has come to that place where, seen from Earth, again is moving forward. This has to do with Earth's own motion. We move faster than Uranus in that sense. If we kind of chart it against the zodiac, against the fixed stars, that means Uranus seems to go backwards for a few months till Earth again is at another angle, and then Uranus starts again moving forward. So this is kind of a waving pattern, and these turning points are highly important. They are setting the pace for the next many months. So when Uranus turned direct, activating all this Uranian energy, we see Pluto and the Sun had an almost perfect conjunction. It was just the day after new moon. Moon exactly conjunct Mercury in that moment. That's very meaningful. Mercury is activated by the moon. The moon is our feelings, emotions. Mercury is the mental understanding of what's going on. It's the sharing of information. It's the processing and understanding emotions. Moon and Mercury, when they are together, they communicate. It's the communication between mind and heart. So there's lots going on there. And then a few hours later again, let's first go to this chart here before we go backwards for a minute. So I just want to show you the sequence. That is when the Sun was perfectly aligned with Pluto. When the Sun took on all that energy of Pluto, amplifying it and putting it out into the grid, the earthly grid. Sorry, speaking a bit too much here. My voice is getting a bit rough. I guess I should take a sip of tea here. So, that moment, a few hours later now, the moon was perfectly aligned with Pallas here at 12 degrees Aquarius. Pallas, again, the ability to see patterns, strong mental powers, kind of seeing through information and understanding the different layers of it. Art and science are ruled by Pallas Athene, also justice. Pallas Athene, often depicted as that goddess with the blindfold, the scales in one hand and the other the sword. So I guess you get the picture here. That's the moon is always a main player in these planetary shifts, as it's the fastest moving celestial body, the one who is kind of the lens collecting all these celestial frequencies and then disseminating it into the Earth sphere. So let's go back here a second. Well, one more thing I want to show. So here, when Uranus was changing direction, we had the first degree of Sagittarius rising in Washington D.C., and we had Orcus and Nessus and Ceres here in the vertical axis, in the consciousness axis. And then a few hours later, we have 0 degrees Pisces rising, which is exactly squaring that degree when Uranus was changing direction. And this time we have Huya and Bienor here, which I talked about in my earlier video too, which is the strong man. We, the people, are in this time holding the ground, being enthusiastic, looking forward, having all that conviction of doing the right thing, of going the right direction. Huya, again, the one who is transforming karma. Nessus and Orcus here. Again, Orcus pretty dead on exact, T-squaring the midheaven midnight point. And on top of that, when this Sun-Pluto conjunction was exact in Washington, 13 degrees 19 Sagittarius was in the midheaven, in the main focus overhead in Washington, and guess what? That is the American nation's ascendant. How about that? So it's seems everything is getting into focus now, or has already gotten, and it's just a matter of unfolding, because these are all activation moments. It's not. I'm not saying that things happen all at once when these alignments are precise and perfect. It's really like a birth again. Something new is born. A new frequency enters our sphere, and from there on, it's starting to work underground, above ground, and whatever levels. So it's always, we're speaking of processes, and what we're charting here are the critical moment when the energy shifts, when a new intention is brought into focus. So if we now go back and look at the midpoint chart between that Uranus station and the American chart, we see the black moon and the south node here at the ascendant, which is pretty easy to translate. The black moon is the collective shadow, and the south node is all things past. So we are having to work through shadows from the past through the next 5-6 months. This is what Uranus is triggering. Uranus, the one who is ruling Aquarius, who is in that sense the dispositor, as we say in astrology, of Jupiter and Saturn both. as they are in Aquarius. We have all these many planets in Aquarius this month in itself. So yeah, again, this is the midpoint chart. That's why you don't see it. This is the midpoint chart of October 10, 1898. That's the exact midpoint between that Uranus station and the American nation's birth chart. And if we now go into the other one, this is the midpoint chart. Again, October 10, 1898, of the Sun-Pluto conjunction with the American nation's birth chart. What I want to point out here is this axis, Juno at the 4th house cusp. Juno is very important in our present times. Juno is an asteroid, and asteroids are feminine energies. It's the asteroid of partnership, of holding together, teamwork, understanding that we are having to work together, holding up a big roof. It needs many pillars. And we see that all over the internet too, that many of these people who have been doing channels, YouTube channels, now no more so much, but now BitChute or whatever, and they're starting to link up to round tables, start bringing their energies together, working together, in that sense, sparking that web, making many new connections. And I guess that's what we all are in for, or already have been in for all through 2020, using the internet. Again, a very Aquarian energy, the internet. So the Aquarian energy is definitely showing up on many levels. And the black moon at this moment, when the Sun and Pluto had their conjunction, you see the black moon is at 9 degrees 29 Taurus. And guess what? The midpoint chart here shows 922 Taurus. So again, that black moon energy. Yes, we have to look the shadow in the eye. We have to face all the darkness. We have to work through that and heal it, bring it to a place of rest and let go of it. And it is about forgiveness and love and understanding. We have to raise ourselves above duality in that sense and see that the dark forces are as necessary as the light forces for evolution. It's really boils it down to electricity. It's the positive polarity and the negative polarity in the end. When we are able to rise above it and integrate it both, it becomes a pure martial art contest we are in right now. It takes out all that emotional charge. Very important to keep that in mind. Also interesting here in this Sun-Pluto conjunction, Pluto all about power, and I mentioned that before. Pluto also represents the deep state in many ways. AW197 is that body which is representing the stratagem, the ability to use the enemy's moves to play in one's own favor. Very interesting that this is so highly placed here in the chart. It all links in with each other. Also Maki here, perfectly squaring over the ascendant-descendant axis. Maki, another of the newly found planets named after an Easter Island god of creation, and very particularly this creation god is about physical manifestation, about not just new ideas, but real physical tangible objects. So in the Maki again, I have been sharing many times in the last many months how important this body is we're getting into this age of immediate manifestation, and many new technologies, possibilities will open up as soon as we're out of that shadow zone, as soon as we have done our homework here. Okay, now this is interesting. This is now the midpoint chart of President Trump with that Sun-Pluto conjunction, which in a nutshell, yes, is focusing in on the deep state, focusing in on transforming all that dark energy. And what you see here, well, President Trump's natal chart shows an ascendant of 2955 Leo. Guess what? Mars is right here in the midpoints, exactly at the 4th house cusp, the source point. So yes, I mean, it's obvious. Everybody who understands 2 cents of astrology will realize this is a sleeping volcano we are looking at in front of us here. On top of that, President Trump's Mars is at 26 degrees 22 Leo. That's where Venus is. So that's a double whammy. That is powerful. Maki is here. Aspolus is here. Yes, he has many arrows in his quiver right now. He is in a perfect position. He has, and his team, naturally, they helped him. He was able, and this is one of his strengths, he's seeing the potential in people. He sees the potential in us too, in everyone. So he has chosen the right people for the right positions, even though optics might tell us that he did wrong choices. I don't think so. I think he knows very well what he's getting into when he chooses a certain person, and he needs that person to do certain moves, even though at first sight it might look detrimental or damaging. In the bigger picture, in the end, this will always work in his favor. He has that magic touch. Again, this is his AW197, very narrowly conjunct his Sun. He has just that inborn natural gift of approaching life in the best way possible, even though he doesn't appear that way, which is probably part of the secret there. So anyway, I wanted to show you this too. Let's see what else I have lined up here for you. Okay, I guess I keep it at this for now. I will make, I guess, a 4th one to keep them not too long. So thanks again for joining in and listening. And yes, if you like what I'm doing, give me a like. Go to my Facebook group, Celestial Rhythms. Become a member there, and then you get all the updates. I'm doing much more regular updates on my Facebook group than on YouTube. I hope I can prevail. I hope I'm flying under the radar here with my astrology. So hopefully we get soon out of this critical zone, and yes, all that communication is coming back to where it should be. Thanks again. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the ride. It's biblical. We are in a lifetime event, and enjoy it to its fullest. Yes. Thanks again. Bye bye.